Welcome to Voices from the Bench, a dental laboratory podcast. Send us an email at info@voicesfromthebench.com or look for us on Facebook at Voices from the Bench. Greetings and welcome to episode 242 of Voices from the Bench. My name is Elvis.
And my name is Barbara.
What's happening, Barbara? So,
I know.
I heard there's another hurricane down there.
Oh my God. Let me just say that we had worse weather from this tropical storm, not hurricane, than we had when there was a Category 4, Category 5 right off our coast a month and a half ago.
Yeah, so this one hit from the other side, right?
Yeah, and it went right across the state. We got a ton of rain, a little bit of wind. I mean, we worked. We didn't cancel work. We're Floridians. We're used to it. But yeah, a lot of rain. More rain than we got from that damn hurricane that freaking annihilated south of us. But
that's so crazy.
I know. That's what it's like to live in Florida.
But the lab never shut down.
Nah, we worked.
Work never stopped.
There was nobody on the road. Like when I came, I'm sure a lot of people's schools were closed, of course.
Well, yeah.
But we stayed open this time, and it was a good call. Nobody was in jeopardy.
Well, I'm glad everything is all right.
Healthy.
I'm glad you've got all the rain you need for the rest of the year.
How are you doing?
Doing well. We're in the thick of fall here.
Ooh, I'm going to Buffalo tonight, so I get to see it.
You do get to see it. If it's anything like here, most of the leaves are on the ground.
Yeah.
That has been my life for the last week and a half, is picking up leaves.
Ooh, that sounds
Isn't that stupid?
Yep.
I'm out there and I'm thinking about you. So
not romantically, of course.
No, not at all. But I'm
jealously.
thinking in places that don't really have fall weather,
Yep.
do leaves fall?
Yeah, but not like they fall there. Like they don't fall off and die because it gets cold. They just, it's summer's over. They're green. They just kind of brown up a little bit, but it's nothing like up there.
So what does everybody do the end of October, beginning of November? Because I spend hours outside picking dead debris off the ground and putting it in bags.
Oh, I lay out in the sun.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm still laying out in the sun.
then you're not thinking about me and my back pain then.
No, I'm sorry to say.
That is crazy. I never really thought about it. And then I'm like, I bet you there's places in this world that you don't have to pick up leaves.
And then you said to yourself, bitch.
Why do I live here?
All right, so what's happening this week?
Well, you know what? I want to make a quick mention. So I have a new role. I'm working at a lab, and I'm doing a lot of chairside help. And this is kind of new for me. And I know we've talked to so many people on this podcast that they get to experience this a lot.
I get to experience it.
And you get to too, right? You get to go
love it.
chairside and experience.
What?
So an office called me with a 91-year-old lady that kept breaking a metal partial.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The hell is
No idea. I don't know what she's eating. Rocks, chewing on bark. I don't know. Maybe she's gritting her teeth because she's having to pick up so many leaves. I don't know. But I was able to meet with the doctor, meet with the patient, game plan what to do. We ended up milling a partial out of acetal. And seating this yesterday, she was ecstatic.
Aw, isn't good feeling.
Yeah, here's a lady that could barely walk that took the time to turn around and look at me and say thank you for everything. And now I understand.
Yes.
Now I get it.
So emotional. Yep. That's great.
It is. It's really cool. And now I can really relate to those other... I mean, we're not changing lives here. I'm not doing full arch yet. But it's just this little thing helping this lady. And she's just... I bet you she could dance if she could on the way out. It was just so rewarding.
And you sound very sincere as well. I'm really happy for you. And I'm being sincere that's a big part of why I love what I do. So I'm
Absolutely.
glad. Good for you. That's great.
It's funny, 13 years at another lab and hardly left the lab.
Yeah.
My new role has me out there, and it's just cool. I just wanted to mention it. Hopefully it's the first of many. It's just
cool.
exciting for me. But this week, we have a great and wonderful example of why our industry is so amazing and connected. A few weeks ago, a past guest and good friend, Vincent Silvia, who was on episode 133 talking about some really cool virtual reality stuff, he called me and said he's got the perfect guest for the show. Jorgen joins the program all the way from Norway, which is cool. We've never talked to somebody from Norway.
Right.
Vincent and Jorgen both went to the UCLA Center of Aesthetic Dental Design under the teachings of Ed McLaren. They really talk about this really interesting competitive learning that they did and the live case seatings, and then they get into life after the program. Now, Jorgen has built up quite a reputation of making minimally invasive veneers. He talks about the kind of cases he works on, the pre-planning that makes them so successful, the materials he uses to achieve lifelike results, and how a combination of techniques he's learned from around the world and technology has made fantastic smiles while hardly prepping any of the tooth structure. It's some pretty cool stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You guys nerd out a lot.
I know. I'm so, thank God.
And I'm there just to ask the stupid questions for all the non-ceramists to understand it better. I'd ask some stupid questions, but I needed to understand it too.
Yeah, well, you did good.
So join us as we chat with Vincent Silvia and Jorgen Gag. You know, Barb, the holidays are just around the corner.
I know, Elvis, don't remind me. We've got gifts, vacation, celebration, food, and God, it gets so expensive.
Heck yeah, it's expensive, extremely in this economy. Have you ever thought about turning in your alloy scrap from the lab?
Well, I'll be. Who has scrap anymore? Everything is mostly zirconia these days, right?
True. But just look on how high the price of precious metals are.
Oh, yeah.
Record highs. Off the charts. Of course, you are using less precious metals these days, but if you turn in half of what you sent in 5 years ago, you will get more now than you got 5 years ago. Half! Can you believe that?
Yeah, I can actually. That's amazing.
Of course, this is all if you use a trusted, reputable refining company.
Well, I can say this, and I know this for sure. The only company I know that has been tested, trusted, and reputable for over 100 years, 100 years, is Kulzer. They burn, melt, and assay all under one roof in their state-of-the-art refining facility in Wartburg, Tennessee.
You know, they've actually doubled their production capacity to ensure that you get your payout within 2 weeks.
That's quick.
That's plenty of time to have your money before the holidays.
I've got a question, though. How much of the value will we get?
Well, the most of any company. Think about it. Their reimbursement to you is everything. Everything that you turn in, all they take is a 10% refining fee.
Wow.
There are 0 additional fees. Kulzer Refining will also send you a free container to ship it in, a prepaid fully insured UPS label, everything you need to get started. Just head over to mydental360.com/refining or call our good friend, the Director of Precious Metal Refining, Tony Circelli, at 914-906-1843.
Well, I can tell you this. As soon as we're done, I'm going to ask somebody to collect all the vacuum bags, floor sweeps, miscasts, and spills from all over the lab so that we can get the best scrap return in the industry with Kulzer Refining.
Well, just because I know that you listen to the podcast, all you got to do is mention or note Voices from the Bench when you're turning in your scrap, and Kulzer Refining will add an additional 5%.
Wow. That's a lot.
To your value. Isn't that huge?
Yeah.
Just think of the gifts you could buy and send to us at the podcast. It's amazing. And we appreciate your support of the podcast, Kulzer Refining, that is always tested, trusted, and honest. Voices from the Bench. The interview.
I'd like to introduce Jorgen Gad. He is an MDC, studied under Dr. Ed McLaren. He's been well-traveled, studied with some of the best, Yamada, Klaus, Mutertes. He's also a Noritake instructor and owning a dental laboratory in Oslo, Norway. He is one of the go-to guys, premier guys, when it comes to minimally invasive aesthetic dentistry. Jorgen, you have the floor.
Hey guys, thank you so much for inviting me.
Jorgen, how are you, sir? Vincent taking over the host seat there for a minute.
All
I didn't know what to
right.
do.
I don't think you did. Well, I think he pronounced his name correctly, Elvis, so you got through with that. So
Awesome.
you're good.
Cool. We're welcoming back Vincent Silvia. How are you, sir?
Very good. Thank you for having us.
Good,
All
good.
right. Yeah, from the digital healthcare computer fame. Glad to have you back on. A few weeks ago, you called me and you said, I got the guy for the podcast. And that's when you introduced Jorgen Gad from Norway.
Jorgen.
Jorgen.
I lived in LA for 2 years, so anything that's close with my name is fine.
You've come to the right place. I'm in
Come
Indiana,
to the right.
so
Yeah, no doubt.
I am terrible at it. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very good. A lot of work, the Christmas time is coming around, so everyone wants new,
Oh, yeah.
bright smile. So that's
Yep.
good.
Yeah.
This is always the crazy time of year for us, for sure.
Yeah, it's that's the life as a dental technician.
Oh, yeah.
In front of every vacation, there's always a lot of work. So,
I think it's universal around the world.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Doesn't matter. So, Jorgen, tell us, how did you get started in dental lab work?
My father was a dental technician. He ran Crown and Bridge Laboratory in Oslo.
Okay.
So basically, due to the Norwegian education system, I could cut a lot of years if I did health. So basically, I could start the program without having the grades to get in, and then I can do the grades the same time as I started.
Because you were able to learn from your father?
No, because we have this system. So if you really know that you want to do, say, go in health, you can start in health, and you can, as soon as you start with health education, you can do the grades you need to get in at the same time. So basically, you cut some years.
Oh, so to encourage the population to get into healthcare.
Yeah, you can kind of say that, and also
Yeah.
other stuff, like if you want to be an artist, or we had this system. So it was a very easy way for me to cut some years in school and also start with my health education. So at that point, I didn't really know if I'm going to continue doing other health work or what I'm going to do. But I started out in dental laboratory school in Oslo, and I really liked it. So it was a great way of getting the education. So it took me 5 years, and I had to work a lot in the laboratory. And I also just have to finish all the grades that I needed to even to get into the laboratory school. So it was a very, very, very nice way of doing it. Then I was certified dental technician when I believe I was 20. And the same year I got into UCLA. So when I got into UCLA, I wasn't old enough to go to the bars. I remember that.
We all remember that.
Yeah. So basically, in Norway, you can go to the bars when you're 18. So basically, when I moved to United States, I had to go back to not getting into the bars.
Oh, jeez.
We fixed it anyway, so that went fine.
Oh, I'm sure there was a way around that. How did you hear about the course at the UCLA?
It was quite advertised in Europe.
Really?
I believe it was through Quintessence. We first saw it. And there's like almost like the same, it's not the same program. They have like a same type of program in Europe, which is like the master course, which is very, very popular in Europe. So when this opportunity came along, I was really, really excited. And I did not expect to even get in, because I think they had 8 spaces when I applied, and 6 of them have to go to US citizens.
Wow.
So my odds was very low, but luckily I think what saved me is that we had a personal interview. Also, we had a skill test and a personal interview, and I get to meet that. At that time was the first time I met Ed McLaren, which is
Ed McLaren, yeah.
he's a very, very good friend of myself and my family and everyone now. But that was the first time I met him. That was the personal interview. This is almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
That was really cool. Yeah, I got in, and that's it.
So what was the curriculum like at the school? Like, was it for an advanced technician?
Yeah, it was very, very high level and very competitive, which I really like. It was competitive driven learning. which in a Scandinavian model is kind of unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
But as a UCLA setting, that the best case gets seated. We work in teams and stuff like that.
Wow.
I thrive in that environment. So that was fantastic. We can basically go to any lectures we want at UCLA Center for Aesthetic Dentistry. It didn't matter if it was surgery or anything. Like, I was a sponge. I went to like 3 or 4 lectures in a week, which wasn't even close to related to what I was doing. I just wanted to learn for free.
Yeah.
I think I had 4 or 5 steps in Photoshop just because it was free.
Which you need now.
Yeah, I don't need that anymore, but it was free. So it was a great learning environment. Yeah, it's probably one of the smartest moves I've done in my career, I guess.
Was it like a live patient, or how did you guys get involved in the cases? And
no, we had the live patients every week, and you have to have a certain amount of cases seated each year, and the best case always get cemented.
Wow!
So it was very competitive, and but still in a very, very learning friendly environment. And we have connections to all the best gear, all the best. I mean, it was a great time.
It was amazing, with Ed McLaren and his network of colleagues, and we had some of the top doctors from all over the world come in, different ceramists from all over the world as well, Japan, Europe, Germany. I mean, we were just exposed to so much. And during our time at UCLA, we were also exposed to a lot of technology that wasn't released yet. We were the first people to use the Piccolo and digital scanning and copings and millings. And it was such a great time because it was kind of that time where CAD-CAM and digital dentistry started to really evolve. And we were able to use it and test it prior to it hitting the market. So they were coming to us for feedback, figuring out the different nuances, what worked.
Wow.
So they just gave it to a bunch of students and said, figure it out?
Go for it?
Well, but most of the, I will say everyone that was in the program had some kind of experience, and but the amount of gear, products and stuff we could just play with, it's just insane. Like I remember Ed McLaren has this great saying. He says, screw up as much as you can, guys, because now it's for free. Once you start your own business, it's a lot worse to screw up. So basically we try to screw up as much as we can, which is great.
So let me see if I understand this. You have a patient, and then everybody in the class kind of makes the same case, and then one of them gets picked.
Yes, and even we're so competitive. So we had even teams with, say there was 1 doctor and 3 technicians. And then they switch after half a year, maybe they switch. So then 3 different technicians on a different dentist, and they have to work together. They have to make this work. So it was fantastic. It was really, really good.
Who decides what gets seated? The patient?
Yeah, basically.
Nice.
But you know how it is, like when you have a bunch of professionals, you know who's the best case. Like everyone knows. It's like that's the great part.
So the way it went is we would have 8 resident doctors, and then we had the technicians. So we were able to work with actual doctors, and then, like Jorgen had mentioned, the best case kind of gets seated. So the competition was fierce, but also just learning from everybody's different styles, perspective. I mean, it was so cool. We have friends in a network, from the Philippines, Japan, Germany, North Carolina, LA, Oslo. And then everybody else has their network internally. So the exposure we were all able to get, learning photography, intraoral, not fogging up the mirror, negative space, art classes, Photoshop, like Jorgen says, clinical surgical lectures. It was nuts.
How long was the program?
2 years.
It was 2 years.
2 years. Wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like the program was great, but what I remember the most is like the competitive learning. It was really, really good. It was done in a really, really professional way. And it suits me very well. Like I loved it. I absolutely thrived in it. It's a very, very nice way of learning, because if you did a mistake and you can see that your friend and colleague did the right thing, you don't forget that. I can tell you that.
And you know what, Elvis? It was a different time back then. All the rage was single central aesthetic dentistry. There was no CAD-CAM at that time. So everything was strictly nuances, characteristics, things like that. But I think it really laid a foundation when digital dentistry hit, and we were able to kind of use some of those advantages and implement it sort of for an aesthetic digital process, if you will.
Yeah.
That less is more type of thing.
Yep. When you guys are working on these cases, do all of the students use the same porcelains and then the same
Yeah, we could choose what kind of porcelain we wanted. We had like two or three of the best brands, maybe more, 4 or 5 of the best porcelains, and you can choose which one you wanted to do. And then you have to join the live patient course. So what I used to do to get my odds better, I used to do like my favorite porcelain even at that point was Noritake porcelain. So I used to do 2 cases. I used to do the cases that from the live patient course with the instructor, and I also used to do like a second case with the Noritake porcelain. Yeah.
Cool.
So I always did like 2 cases, so just so I can learn 2 systems really good. So it of course makes my odds better. If you have 2 sets, it's.
Oh, heck yeah, especially when it's a single central. When you've got 10
Yeah,
sets.
or 10 or 10 minimal invasive veneers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
I went back as a affiliated instructor for UCLA for, I think it was like almost the whole decade. It's like 7 years after. I was back and forth like once a year, lecture and stuff for the same program. And that was great because the guys that came up 3 or 4 years after I was done, that was Josh from New York and all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
They all came out 3 or 4 years after me. So I kept, a really good relationship with those guys. And I was there just to, kind of give back to the great education I had. So, it was a great decade. I mean, I miss it already. I miss all the guys at UCLA, to be honest.
Is that program still growing strong now?
No, it's not the same. They have some program there now, but it's not the same.
Never be as good as it was, huh?
No, but I think they had a big fire and stuff in the laboratory, and I think it was a big program. I mean, it probably cost a lot of money to run.
Yeah.
So then you need like a special person like Ed to really to keep this together, to do it that specialized and that connected. I think then you need like someone like Ed to keep it all together.
So when you went back to teach, what course?
Well, I did basically. I did to be honest, I did whatever Ed wanted me to lecture about. To be honest, but it was it was mostly minimal, high aesthetic dentistry, which is I basically made my career doing. So just showing my porcelain techniques and how I worked in the laboratory every day, and stuff like that. Even when we were there, we used to have 3 or 4 really, really good guys coming in. Aki Yoshida was there teaching. We had Randy Smith was there teaching. Vincent DeVoe, all of these American-based, very nice ceramists just coming in, just having fun, hanging out with very, very inspired and gang of people.
Yeah, you know what I think the coolest part about all that was, Elvis, is some of these legends, like we call them legends, in our mind, they crafted this their technique over 10, 15, 20 years, and they were sharing all that knowledge openly to us, shortening our learning curve by years. So, just some of those things, I mean, I will never forget. I remember when I first started, I had a whole toolbox full of tools. When I left, I was using only 3. Really mastering the craft. And one guy, Vincent DeVoe, I asked him, I really like what you do and what you've done. And he goes, it's not just business. These are life decisions, which kind of equate to, having an easy path. And so, it wasn't just aesthetics. It was, mentoring at its finest. It really was. And some of these relationships and pictures, I mean, like Jorgen said, going back, and he went back and taught after, and the legacy that Ed kind of created there, being not only a prosthodontist but a master ceramist. I mean, just to really understand what the doctors are going through, on the everyday, and how we can accommodate them. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Let me ask you, Jorgen, when you teach a class on ceramists, is there lecture, or do you just get right into it and just start hands-on?
Yeah, it depends what kind of lecture I do. If I do like a hands-on lecture at a lab, then of
Mm-hmm.
course I do the building and the try-in. Maybe sometimes I do a live patient course. But the especially now in Corona, it's been more lecturing like for symposiums.
Yeah.
But today it's a lot easier to show your techniques digitally because of all the fantastic computer and I'm starting to get older too, so I remember my first lecture was with like slides, so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it's kind of hard showing a video on slides, but today we can show like short videos or how we build stuff and how we mix the porcelain to get the same effect without using pigments and stuff like that, which I like to do. So basically, lecture today is also it's not a hands-on, but I also show some tips and tricks in my lectures.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do like a minimal cutback, or do you design, like say you're doing a veneer case, do you design the veneer case with a cutback, or do you cut it back with your hands after it's milled?
It depends how thin it is. If I'm down to 0.2, 0.3, I cut it by hand because
Yeah.
it's so thin. So
Yeah.
I don't take any chances because I press a lot of my minimal invasive veneers. I press them first, then I cut it back by hand, and I put all the different portions on top. So that makes a very strong veneer. Not for me as a technician or my employees. That's not the problem. The problem is because we can make them very thin with very good fit. But the problem is if it's too brittle, the doctors break them when they cement them.
Yeah.
So I have figured out like a new technique where I always try to use a little bit stronger material in the bottom of the veneer, just for the dentist can be able to see it, but at the same time don't have can make them really thin and no pigments, because that's basically one of my big things is I try to make natural looking aesthetics without paint or pigments.
Yeah. Agreed. So it's all layered for the most part.
Yeah, everything that's sold in my laboratory is layered.
Yeah. And so how many porcelains do you use, like average, on your cases when you're doing an incisal layering?
I do fully layering, so I would say the average is about 15 to 20 porcelains in one veneer, average around there.
Wow.
That seems like a lot, is it?
Yeah, it's
That's a whole lot.
Okay, that's what I thought.
yeah, it's as much as I can. Yeah, to be honest,
Wow.
it's I like to do every case like I'm gonna have it myself, and I have also treated myself, so I have the same mix for myself. When you do non-pigments, you have to use a lot more powder and break the light to make it look natural. But once you stay away from the pigments and you have natural color effects, it looks so much better in my mind.
So when you're lecturing, do you have more of a basic recipe that's not that many that somebody can follow a little more easy, or is it like always that many?
No, it's kind of the same setup.
Wow.
But the thing is, when you use all these portions every day and you do many cases every day together with my extremely good employees, it's not like it's the same if you use 4 powders, if you use 15, it doesn't matter. It's the same time. The porcelain is there.
Yep.
It's already, I mean, you maybe spend a little bit more time mixing up the recipe for that, say, single central, whatever. But
Yep.
if you're doing a big veneer case and you use 15 porcelain, or if you use 5, it doesn't really matter.
Correct.
Time-wise, it's the same. But
Yeah.
it makes a whole lot of difference in the effect when you hit the right translucency, the right opalescency, and the right fluorescency. When you hit all these color physics, that's when it looks really good in my mind.
I say so.
Yeah,
Cool.
and then you can also change the color by cement. You can actually we can actually try in the veneers before the patient goes back to the dentist and bond them. So if they're a little bit too light, we can change the color just by changing the cement, which it's impossible if you use pigments. Because if you use pigments, you block the light. Nothing happens if you use a Trian or like a different cement. So you have actually great benefits. And if you haven't used pigments, the teeth also look completely natural in every light source. So it doesn't matter if the patient goes to say a nightclub or a restaurant with like candle lights. I mean, the teeth or the veneers will act like teeth no matter what kind of light setting the patient are, which is very important in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask a dumb question. Someone that's not a ceramist here. Are most crowns and veneers made with pigments? And it's uncommon not to? I don't know exactly what a pigment is. I mean, other than
It's color.
the general term.
The easy way to explain it is if you think of pigments as paint.
Yeah.
If you use a lot of paint in your restorations, at some point you will block too much light. So that means they will look kind of dead in some
makes sense.
light.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the less pigments you use, the easier it actually is to hit that natural effect when it actually looks like enamel or bleached teeth. People make bleached teeth with pigments. I try not to use any white color when I make bleached teeth, because when you bleach your teeth, it has nothing to do with white color. It's just you have to change the reflective index of the enamel to stop a little bit more light from coming through the enamel, just like bleached teeth.
Change the reflective index?
Yes.
Yowzer.
So if you think of enamel as a window,
yeah.
So when you bleach your teeth, the only thing you do to the window is you're kind of sandblasting it, so it gets a little bit denser, so you don't see what's behind. That's it. It's nothing to do with color. It's nothing to do with. So why do they make bleached dentin when there's nothing happening to the dentin when you bleach your teeth?
Interesting. They've been lying all this time.
No, they just made it a lot easier for people to match like a bleach shade.
Yeah.
To use like a bleacher dentin. And of course, there's some patient that really wants it more than natural, so that's when you have to go into those kind of powders.
Yeah, more than natural being, holy crap, really, really white.
yeah.
You're going to see my teeth before you see me white? Yeah.
Yeah.
I have some of those. Yep.
So how do you get a shade that you're trying to get if you're not applying color?
You do it with changing the reflective index of the enamel. That's what I do. So say I'm gonna make like an A1, like a bleached. If you're gonna make a tooth that is like normally A3, but they bleached it down to A1.
Yeah.
Or say bleach. You should not use bleach powder. What you should do is you should use the A3 color as the teeth really were made. And you should just change the reflective index of your enamel mix to match the bleached effect the patient has. So that means then you will block, the enamel will look just as the other bleached enamel on your restoration. Instead of trying to put like bleach dentin first and then a bleach enamel on top, it will look way too dead. It will look flat because you don't get any color from within.
I think I know why I didn't become a ceramist.
Well, I think it would help if I know that it's minimally invasive and Elvis is not speaking our language.
Yeah, break it down for me, Barb.
I'm sorry. No, I mean, but when you talk about minimal invasive dentistry, which is the heart of what you guys both do, like, what does that look like to Elvis or somebody that doesn't understand only prepping the enamel and changing?
That's a perfect question, and that is really what I like to talk about when I lecture, and also when what I'm working with every day. So today we have the great possibilities, with aligners and digital communication between dentists, surgeons, ceramists. At this part of our lives in dentistry right now, we don't have to prep any tooth, almost any. If we work together as a team, we can align the teeth at the exact perfect place, so we can make non-prep veneers over. We can, So we have all the possibilities today if we work together. So we try not to prep anything, if it's possible.
So you do a lot of non-prep veneers?
Yes, I've been doing it for 20 years.
Yep.
don't they have to, I don't know, make some sort of room? I mean, no matter how thin you make it, doesn't it always bulk it out?
No, because
I know I sound like I don't know anything about teeth, but really, I do. It's just,
no, it's but I see your concern, but most people that have like wear their teeth down, so they want veneers,
uh-huh.
they basically prep their teeth themselves.
Oh, natural prep.
Yeah. So, but you can also, most patients don't have a perfect bite. So what we do, if you guys are familiar with the doll principle, is like we really like to add vertical from canine to canine.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes a big advantage for us when we do non-prep veneers, because then we can set up the perfect guidance, canine guidance, which 70-80% of the veneer cases, they have lost their canine guidance. They have started wearing down the front, and that's when they show up at the dentist or at the ceramist and say, "Hey, can you fix this?"
Yep.
No one ever went to the doctor because they lost their canine guidance. They always show up when they start losing their front. I can tell you that.
Yep.
That's hilarious.
Their smiles aren't as big, and they're not as like, you lose that length on your centrals, and
Yeah.
it's like, where did my teeth go?
Exactly.
Yep. Are you
Yeah.
laughing at this?
I just imagine a patient going into a dentist saying, I've lost my canine guidance.
Yeah.
Most dentists won't even know what they're talking about.
But like most dentists be like, okay, I'm referring this person.
So Vincent, you're doing the same thing, correct? Are you still at the bench also? Did we lose him?
We lose him. So now he's doing his digital VR and computer. Yeah, he basically makes the computers for all these CAD/CAM systems.
Yeah.
Ah, gotcha.
Which is huge.
It's needed.
Yeah, it's needed. I also have a direct milling center, which is outside Oslo, and
Mhm.
I can just the amount of computer power we need. That's the hard part now, is to get all these systems. There's so many crypted systems and licenses and all this stuff that has to come together. So the computer power basically that's the biggest cost for laboratories now, is basically keeping up with the digital.
Oh, yeah. The computers alone, just keeping up
Yeah.
with the power to run everything is getting kind of ridiculous almost. You have a milling center?
Yes,
So you mill restorations for other labs?
other labs and also direct to dentists.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Yeah.
Smart man.
Yeah, so that's we actually have a contracted now with the government now, because we have so much problem in Norway, which is funny, which is one of the richest countries in the world. We have a problem that dentists buy cheap, very cheap, often fake materials, crowns from abroad.
Wherever. Yeah.
And we don't even know what the materials is, but it's sold as licensed health materials. And of course, this is always the poorest people in the community that gets the deal like that. So
Yeah.
they basically pay the same, and they get really, really mistreated, and it starts to cost the society a lot of money. So what we're offering now with technology is we can actually, if we do everything direct, like a pre-layered zirconium block,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so it's like shaded, we can do direct milling for almost for the same price as these cheap companies, because it's not legal to sell direct to dentists. So what they do is they sell it through Norwegian laboratories. That's the way they get around it. So
Wow.
it's quite funny that we're one of the richest country in the world, and we have problems like that. But that's just how the world is.
So these are mostly like single posteriors, bicuspids.
Yeah, but we see now, like I get a lot of the if something goes wrong, I do a lot of what you call it, redos
Yeah.
for other dentists, or say there's like a big like a patient has filed a complaint or something.
Mm-hmm.
Those cases end up very often in my laboratories, especially in Oslo. And it's good for business, but I don't really like to do those cases, because if these people were treated before, most of these cases that are over prepped, horrible ceramics,
Oh, yeah.
worst material. And I have to tell them, we can always fix the aesthetics. Let's just do it right.
Yeah.
You will never get your tooth structure back. So
Yeah.
if they show up at the door, before they get treated with these cheap companies, they would be probably doing non-prep,
Yeah.
which is sad to see.
Yeah.
In Norway, does the government cover these for people?
Well, they cover like acid damage, abrasive damage. They actually cover a lot of, or they help with the bill if it's
Sure.
if it's like a disease. If you have holes in your teeth, you have to pay, of course. But
Yeah. The government's not covering
no, they're
non-invasive
not.
veneers or anything.
Well, they are. If that's basically how I say started my career when I moved back from Los Angeles. I used to get all these bulimic young girls because
Oh.
they have no enamel on the backside of the teeth because they throw up.
Yep.
And I can show them that I could do it. We can treat them non-prep and we do the aesthetics at the same time. So of course,
Build them back up.
and the government paid for a lot of it. So of course, that was a very popular option.
Wow. Right now, you own Art Pro Dental Designs. When did you start that? Were you going to LA during those times, or?
I started like the concept. Once I get back from LA, I actually went around the world learning from, the ones that I thought was like the best in the business. For like about a year, I went to Japan, I went to Germany. I went all over. I learned, even more. And then I moved back to Norway and I started my own concept, which was Art Pro Dental Design. I used to work out of my dad's laboratory. And in 2000, and I believe it was 10, I built my own brand new laboratory and started basically only doing that concept.
So what'd you do? Just call up the friends that you knew in school and go to Japan and study with them? I mean, how did you make that happen?
Actually, I have a very good relationship with Noritaki.
Uh-huh.
Very good. So that was no problem. I just asked if I could come, and I got to train with Mr. Yamada.
Oh, man.
And Mr. Aoshima. All the big cannons from Japan.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm the same way. If someone calls me and asks if they can come to the lab, I'm sure. I have people all the time. I've done it the last 10, 15 years. I try to give back because I know how cool it is to be in a lab and, because there's so many ways to roam, that what makes this, our field so exciting. It's like
awesome.
Yeah, some guys are like really, really good at one thing. You can pick up a couple of things from those guys, and you can learn something completely different over in Japan, and you can take those two techniques and combine it and make your own. It's so exciting. It's so exciting.
Yeah.
So if someone calls me and asks me if they can stop by the lab, I have people in the lab all the time.
Awesome. I know I'm geeking out, Elvis. Sorry.
No, it's fine. This is all you, man.
Every time I get a ceramist, I get to talk to him. I love it. So yeah.
How big is your lab now? Are you by yourself or?
Oh, I have 5 employees at the lab, and we also have a driver. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we run about 6 or 7 people out of the laboratory.
Nice.
Yeah, the guys we have on porcelain and digital, they're just fantastic. They're extremely good guys and girls. Yeah, and we work team approach just as UCLA. To go back to that, I've really brought that with me all the time, like how much, and with my dentist also. My client list in Europe is about 150 dentists and surgeons. Mm-hmm. So I do, quite a bit of work. Some of the dentists doesn't use me for everything, of course, but yeah. We as a team, we can do teeth for dentists all over the world as long as we communicate, which is so cool with the digital. We can plan the cases. That's also what I do. I'm a very, very sucker for planning. So that's basically mostly what I do these days are planning cases and finishing cases in the mouth. That's basically what I'm doing.
So walk us through planning a big case. What do you need other than obviously just the impression?
Yeah, well, right now it's 80 or 90%, I will guess. I'll say 80% of the work that come in the laboratory is digital, is scanned.
Nice.
Sometimes the patients show up at my facility because they know I'm going to do the aesthetics or ceramics. That's also a very nice way. Then we can do the planning. We can show them exactly what we're going to do and execute. And then we send them to the dentist we believe are the best for the job.
They come to you first.
Yeah, so they come to you first?
Yeah, that's more and more. I will say more and more. Last 10 years, that's been really, because if you've done a couple of jobs, the patient, they know who makes the ceramics.
Not over
And
here.
they talk to each other. And they talk to each other, right?
Yeah. So that's a very, as you know, I'm a technician first of all, so I think that's a very, very, very nice way, and it's also very, very good advertisement for dentists. That's what many dentists don't get. Like if a patient comes from me and I send it to the dentist, that's like the best advertisement they can have, because then the patient tells everyone else, okay,
Yep.
I went to Jorgen, he said he can do this and that, and then he sent me to this great dentist, and then I was back in the laboratory and we seeded the non-prepaid. I think it's the best way of working together as a team. But let me just go back to like the dream case, which I actually work a lot today. So today, say a customer outside Oslo calls me and he says, I have this very nice patient. I scan the patient. Can you take a look at it? And I go in and we look at it and I say, okay, we can do non-prep. If we do a little bit of Invisalign, then I help the dentist set up the Invisalign. Then I help them set up the Invisalign for the non-prep. Because the dentists, they don't know exactly which angle, because they don't make the veneers. They don't know where it's very critical, that it's not thin, you see what I'm saying?
Sure, yeah.
Are you setting up the Invisalign to bring the teeth that are bulky in areas to turn them or to bring them in?
Exactly. So today we can do like 10 to 15 trays, and that means almost any patient can be a non-prep case or a minimal or non-prep case these days. So then we actually start by helping the dentist. We're not going to teach the dentist how to align teeth. That's not what I'm trying to do. Often they have aligned it. They say, can you look at this? This is before we have even touched the patient. And I said, yes, this looks very nice. Can you bring the incisal edge of the canine in a little bit, like a half a millimeter? If you can lift the gingiva on the premolars, then she will have a very nicer, aesthetic gum line. Small things like that. As a ceramist, we see right away, but it's very hard for a dentist to see that on an alignment screen on a computer. But as a ceramist, you see it right away, and it's just small, sudden changes that makes a huge difference. Makes the difference that you don't have to prep the teeth. The alignment of the gum line is a lot better. You have better bonding because you don't have to remove gum. Yeah, so it makes just the process so much better.
Yeah.
Then we also do a lot of. We can just work out of one picture from a face picture. We can do the whole design. I will manually wax on the printed model, and I will make.
Yep.
I will do I will do a matrix, and I can try it in my laboratory and take pictures in my photo studio, or the dentist. I can send it to the dentist, and they can do the pictures from the matrix. And then we have full control. They can also use it for as a non-prep guide, if you would like to say, to see that the teeth are aligned correctly before we start. And then we can show the patient in plastic, of course, how it's going to look before they even have aligned, before they haven't started doing anything.
Wow.
That's a huge selling point. Yeah, I mean, you guys can go on my Instagram. I'm not too good on social media, but I have some cases there. You can see that we plan all the cases in bisacrylic mixed with composite to make it nice, of course, temporary, but also like we call it a prototype to show the patient. And then we already at this point we check for the correct canine guidance. So everything.
How hard is it to do contacts on those cases?
Contacts. Well, actually, it's not hard. What they say, if you know how to do it, it's not hard.
Yeah.
I have a very nice technique where I use a 0.8 millimeter thick diamond disc from Brilliant. I do all the contacts in one shot.
Okay.
I can show you sometime. So I don't spend that much time on the contacts.
Even when you're layering, huh? You just don't go in a proximal that close to hit that edge, so you don't have to recut it in.
Yeah, I'm an old school carver, so I wait till everything is dry and then I carve all the proximals. So, yeah.
Okay.
So I don't fire anything wet. I carve all the surface texture and yeah.
Sweet.
So so basically what I put in the oven when it comes out, it's basically the same as when I put it in because it hasn't shrunk that much since it's not wet.
So you're even texturing. Wow.
Yes. So I do all the anatomy and I mean, of course, you cannot do surface texture. You have to do it with the burr, but I do like what we call secondary anatomy. I do with carving. Old school.
Awesome. Yeah. That's a lot of fun, in my opinion.
Yes.
So are these still being made CAD at all?
Yeah, I CAD like the
shell or whatever you want to call it.
Before I used to do everything refractory, but now I do like call it my hybrid version because today you can buy very very good materials that are color physically the same as refractory, if not better.
Yeah,
they're a lot stronger, and that means we can CAD and press. So now I can press veneers now that are 0.2, and then I can cut it by hand and add porcelain to it. It's still stable.
So you're designing the wax and then printing or milling and then pressing?
Yes, I press a lot and then we cut it back.
Okay.
But I also sometimes I do refractory also, but like the need for refractory with these new materials now, is very very. I don't do it that much anymore. Yeah. I don't see any reason to because the materials are. But then again, I put porcelain on everything I sell. Like I don't sell anything without putting porcelain on it because I like the surface texture and the polish on feldspathic porcelain is so much better than pressed porcelain. Yeah. So like I never use glaze powder because I don't spend all this time with the anatomy and surface texture and then fill it up with glass. It makes no sense to me. So then I do natural glaze and then after polish. Like most ceramics do.
Yep.
So no glaze?
No glaze.
I'm so lost.
It's fun, though, I got to tell you. So most of the patients you get to meet that are local.
Yeah. Well, the trend now is like a lot of the patients also fly in. Yeah. Like,
wow.
Because and I don't blame them because if they know they can get it really good by just have a weekend in Oslo and just stop by and do like a custom shading.
Yep.
Maybe I like to do the try-in of the non-prep. I try it in. I check all the contacts. I check which cement they're going to use with try and paste. Mm-hmm. I etch the veneers before we send them out. I do finished pictures before they are bonded. The dentist can see if they use this kind of cement, this is how it looks in the mouth. So they don't have to think about, okay, is it the right cement? Should I use this cement? That's when things are happening.
Yeah.
Because you
don't want them to think.
Yeah, because people are, and I have to brag over the dentists I work with also because I work with the best dentists, to be honest, and they are extremely good at bonding. And it's a skill to bond. Like if a dentist said that bonding is easy, I'm not too sure I want to work with them because I know there's going to be a lot of problems. Like bonding is not easy. It's a trade. It's just like ceramics. You have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
As for me and my colleagues, that we spend so much time on the aesthetics and the fit and the bonding, the even bonding layer. And all this kind of technical stuff. So if the dentist doesn't take his job seriously on the bonding, it's a waste of time. That being said, I haven't lost a veneer hardly ever.
You've never lost?
No.
What, like in the lab or out of a patient's mouth?
out of the patient's mouth. I have not had one veneer debonded, unless it's actually my fault. If there was like, say, if I forgot to etch it before I send it out or something like that. But then you see as long as the veneer, as long as the cement is stuck in the veneer, you know it's a bonding problem.
Oh yeah.
If the cement is stuck on a tooth, it's a ceramic problem.
Yeah.
So I have never lost a veneer my whole life when the cement is sticking on the tooth. So that means every time there's a veneer that has fallen off, it's always
the doctor's fault.
I would not say the doctor's fault, but it's like it's a bonding issue. It's a bonding issue. But
the doctor's fault.
Then we can just fire the veneer at 350 degrees, burn out the plastic, sandblast it, re-etch it, and then put it on again. So this is not a big problem.
That's a heck of an achievement, not losing any.
Yeah, but I think that's the achievement of my dentist because they know how to bond.
Yeah.
The rest is just theory, technical, you know? It's like if a veneer is bonded to an enamel, I mean, there's almost impossible for that veneer to come off.
Yeah.
I mean, you have almost better bond between the veneer to enamel than enamel to dentin itself. So we see patient that go skiing. Skiing is very popular in Norway. Uh-huh. They have great new non-prep veneers, and they go skiing, and they fall. They break their teeth underneath the veneer. They don't break the veneers.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty damn awesome. Just saying. Well, feel sorry for them, but
it's not good, but it's good.
I don't want to fall on my face.
Barb's never lost a veneer, right?
No, of course not.
No, but you get my point. Like, of course, yes. I lost a veneer, but if I have lost a veneer, is always a technical problem.
Yeah.
So it's like I or me or my employees maybe took the wrong acid, whatever it is. It didn't get acid the correct amount, but then you will see it right away. I have never seen a veneer fallen off and the cement is sticking on the teeth without the veneer being something wrong with it. Mm-hmm. Like if you have reached, we etch our veneers with a stopwatch because we know how much. We know how much it really affects the bonding. And when that thing is bonded correctly with a good dentist that knows his bonding system, I mean, it's a heck of a material. Like it's a very, very nice way of doing it. That's why I say to all my all new dentists, they ask me, hey, what should I do to start with high aesthetics? And everyone wants to do the aesthetic part these days. I tell them, just make sure you bond as much as you can and be really good at bonding. That's my best tips for a dentist.
Yep.
Because everything you bond will last, so much longer than stuff that are not bonded.
Well, they don't have to prep. It's the only thing they got to do.
Yeah. It sounds very easy, but it's like non-prep veneers is hard. Yes, it is. It is hard. You need to have control. But if they have a good team around them, we can make bonding guides. That the veneers fit inside the guide, so they know it's all seated. So they don't have to stress keeping it. They can just focus on the moisture. Mm-hmm. So there's so many tips and tricks you can do if you work together as a team. If you work not as a team, it always ends up over prepping. In my eyes.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just going to take a little bit there, just going to take a little bit there just to be sure. And then you look at the case and you're like, okay, this is stupid because we didn't have to prep this case at all.
What percentage have to go through Invisalign? Would you say almost all of them?
No. Most of the people that have acid damage or wear damage to their teeth, they need to be vertically fixed in the occlusion. And then we have, we make veneers that are 0.2 thick, so then we have enough space. So I'm not too concerned about the space. The other part is we use Invisalign, or sorry to use a fabric name, but alignment. We use alignment a lot more because sometimes it's cheaper. Because if we can fix gummy smile situation, we can open the bite even better for veneers. We can change the corridors. We can set up the bite better with Invisalign. We can do all this stuff. It's actually cheaper than doing like surgery on the gums. It's just a great way of planning.
Sure.
But to be honest, sometimes it's the other way. Sometimes the doctor calls me and says, "Hey, can you look at the Invisalign treatment? What do you think for this treatment for non-prep veneers? Can you change it a little bit?" And I look at it and I tell him, "Okay, we need to change the vertical bite here so much anyways. You don't need the Invisalign. We can fix anything with the non-prep right away. We don't have to pull a patient through, 20 alignments."
Oh, I bet you they love that.
Yeah, because I mean, it's these alignment systems, they are great, but the price point they're at right now, it's quite expensive.
And it takes time. I'm sure a lot of them just want to. I want my fancy teeth. Hurry up.
Yes.
Well, Jorgen, that's some great stuff.
I'll say.
I am so happy. I'm sorry that we lost Vincent.
Yeah.
Kind of just disappeared on us. Technical issues, but I'm so glad he introduced us to you.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I've been following your podcast, and I was like, this is nice. This is very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, we love hearing, especially Norway. I don't think we've ever had anybody from Norway, and
I know.
I love hearing what you're doing and the whole non-invasive.
Yeah, no, it's cool. We have some old, let's call them legends. Sverker Toreskog, and they've been it's called a Scandinavian minimal approach.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been very popular with minimal invasive in Scandinavia. It's a great place to be if you like to do minimal invasive dentistry.
I hope it catches on worldwide. I mean, I think there's a lot of over prep going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, but I've done some cases in the United States also for doctors, and they get it. As long as the doctors are good, they have no problem doing this. But it's what I said. It's like in every other field. Like if you're gonna do such specialized work, you have to be a special kind of doctor, and you have to be a special kind of, or at least interested as a technician. Because if you just want to do crowns, okay, non-prep is not for you. But if you really want to do non-preps and all that stuff, that's great. I see a lot of these direct composite cases, which is many dentists send out a design, sends the case to the technicians, and they do the design for composite, and they print the model and they do direct. I cringe because the aesthetics look like hell.
Oh, I bet.
And the patients, they pay almost, they're not paying the same as non-prep veneers, but they have to do it twice. That's my bet, if not more, because that stuff will fail. So they're going to end up paying the same after some years anyway. And I mean, it's the most expensive
mistake.
No. I call it it's the most expensive mock-up that you ever will do.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I guess I see you guys in Chicago. I've been locked out for Chicago for 2 years due to COVID, but I'll be back. I had an 18-year spring, so before COVID, and then I couldn't go. So I'll be in Chicago.
Excellent. Well, we'll look for you.
I hope I see you.
All right. Thanks, Jorgen.
Take care.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Two dynamic teams have joined forces to rock the intraoral scanning world. Whitmix has added the 3Shape Trios line of scanners to its line of digital solutions for the dental office. Together, this dynamic duo can get your dentist scanning, providing you the reliable scans you need for your lab work. If you're interested in learning more about helping your dentist, head over to tinyurl.com/WhitmixTrios. That's TRIOS. Again, that's the word tiny, url.com/WhitmixTrios. And as always, we appreciate your support of the podcast, Whitmix.
A huge thanks to Vincent and Jorgen for joining us on the podcast. We're kind of super sad that we lost Vincent during the conversation, just some of the pains of doing a remote recording. But it was wonderful to learn more from Jorgen. It sounds like more doctors and technicians should be trying to do more and more minimally invasive veneers. It's the best of both worlds. you're saving tooth structure, and you're making better smiles. I apologize to the removable technicians for geeking out so much about ceramics, but I am a ceramist, so I am what I am.
You're allowed to geek.
Thank you. Well, you do quite often, so. But there's been a lot of episodes lately about removables, and it was due time to talk to a fellow ceramist. Thank you very much, Vincent and Jorgen.
All right, everybody. That's all we got for you, and we will talk to you next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
Welcome to November, everybody.
I don't know. I'm making up as I go.